Guys, welcome to this episode of the podcast. I'm here with Alvey Thompson. He is a life coach, an entrepreneur, and a world-class Hall of Fame speed walker. We are in the presence of a legend here. So if you guys, which a lot of you guys won't get the speed walking reference, go follow this guy on Instagram. He has the best speed walking content on the internet, hands down.
I like that.
Hands down.
I like that.
Yeah, I really like every time you put out a speed walking video, I'm like, yes.
Let's go.
Yeah. So I wanted to have you on this podcast for two reasons. The first one, as a life coach, and I feel like as a life coach, you focus a lot on performance and helping people show up powerfully. You know, I feel that you can provide a lot to this audience, which is mostly made out of entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
You know, so I want to definitely dive into different things that entrepreneurs can do to show up more powerfully, right? To perhaps let go of some of the things that no longer serve them,
right,
and create space for that better self. And the second reason is because you're doing it, bro.
Yeah,
you're doing it. You're an entrepreneur. You're living by example, you know, and you're living the fact of this truth that it's never been easier, you know, and that's what I'm so passionate about. So let's start. We can start maybe with entrepreneurship. Like, how did your journey into entrepreneurship start?
Yeah, it's so interesting. So I worked in the corporate world from about 2011, right after I graduated from Georgetown University, to just about 2012. And I realized that the corporate environment was not for me. And even at that point, I wasn't really sure what it was that I wanted to do. But I knew that I loved being active. I loved sports.
Technical difficulties. We have a cat here.
That's all.
Yeah.
You played it off smooth though.
Yeah, man.
And man, I realized that, you know, I was always an athlete. I loved being involved in sports. I always loved exercise and movement and all of those good things. So I wanted to see how can I get involved in sports performance and training.
Okay.
So what I started was working at a sports performance facility out in Davie, Florida called The Chamber. That was owned by Chris Chambers, a former Dolphins player who just so happened to be one of my favorite players growing up, which was crazy. And I started out as an intern.
Right.
And over the span of about 3 years, I went from intern to the director of sports performance.
Powerful.
And even within then, I was still part of a, you know, kind of a corporate structure because I was still working for somebody else.
Of course.
And what I realized was by doing that, I didn't have the opportunity to actually create the programs and the processes that I thought would be really powerful and amazing. And because of that, and also this aspect of the gym I was at and another gym combining, we were going to be essentially becoming this, you know, global gym type of deal. And this other leadership group came in, and when they came in, they pretty much told me like, hey, this is the role that we envision you in. And that role was essentially like taking 2 steps back.
Okay.
And at that point, I knew that's not what I wanted to do. So it almost, you know, I feel like the universe, in my experience, always pushes me into the right direction.
It always does. It always does.
And it was so perfect because this gave me the opportunity to go ahead and pivot and go do my own thing. And it was from that point around 2014 that I started truly working for myself. And I'll tell you this, it was the scariest thing I ever did, and also the most gratifying thing that I ever did, because it allowed me to be in a position to truly go after what it was that I desired. Yeah. And within that process from, you know, damn near almost 7 years ago to now, it's been incredible to see how many wins I've had and how many learning lessons I've had along the way that's ultimately gotten me to where I am today, transitioned from essentially a personal trainer and a sports performance coach to now a life coach, where instead of only helping somebody on their physical fitness, now I'm focused on getting people in the best shape of their life, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually.
Beautiful. So back when you're working at this gym, right, you're already looking, and I feel a lot of entrepreneurs are this way, you're already looking at how these things being run. It's like, like some things here don't really make sense. Like I would perhaps maybe do a lot of things different, because a lot of the times when people are working, it's just they just assume like, okay, like, this is the way things are done. I'll do it this way. Can you talk a little bit about taking that leap into entrepreneurship? Because you kind of just like went over it like real quick, but I know like that's such a big decision for every entrepreneur. It's taking that entrepreneurial leap of, man, I'm not happy here. I feel like there's something more out there for me. A lot of the times, for a lot of people, like you said, life is rerouting you in the right direction. Right. And I'm not sure if you experienced some resistance. Yeah, I would love for you to share a little bit about that entrepreneurial leap.
Yeah, that entrepreneurial leap, it was so interesting because I almost felt like I had no choice but to take the leap. Okay. You know what I mean? It was almost like I got to like the edge of that cliff, and it was either like, all right, I got to turn right back around and go back to what I was doing, or it's now jumping into this new version of my work called entrepreneurship. And it was interesting because I'm very thankful that the clients that I was working with at the time, they believed so heavily in the work that I was doing and the results that I was getting them, that they gladly followed me from this beautiful, nice gym to literally this small, tiny ass space that was in my boy's chiropractic office. Nice. Because, just at the time, I didn't really have another gym to go to. It wasn't the same atmosphere as it is today where, a lot of personal trainers and sports performance coaches, they can just go to another gym and, pay them a rent and train their clients there. It wasn't really like that in, 2014, 2015. So right when I jumped into entrepreneurship, it was a lot of scrambling. It was like picking up the phones, like, damn, where am I going to go? Where are my four walls going to be? Where am I taking people? And man, I made it work in this tiny, 10 foot by 12 foot room where I realized that in that moment, man, it doesn't matter about like all the equipment and all the fancy things. It's me that truly makes this thing work. Powerful. And to have the experience of being in that new location, which I'm super grateful for, and also having my clients follow me and all of them still get results, it made me realize like, wow, if I can do all of this with such a little space, I'm like, whoa, like what else is possible? And it really blew my mind. And then it was shortly thereafter where a friend of mine, Alvey Hanley, was opening up his own gym with a whole different model of, hey, you bring in your clients here, this is your home, and you just pay the gym rent, and we can all like live happily under this one roof, all these different people. And it was cool because it started to give me the autonomy of like, all right, now I get to put my own systems in place. And I get to really think about how do I want to serve people? Where when I was first starting out and where I was before, again, it was just rooted on the physical side. And like, I was really good at that. It's very tangible. People understand that. But through my own life lessons, my journeys, my relationship with my mom and how she passed away, it made me realize that health is so much more than just, how we eat and how much exercise we get.
Big biceps and nice abs. Big biceps
and nice abs, like fitting in our clothes, looking good naked, all of those things, which don't get me wrong, they're important. And they're a piece of the puzzle, but it's not the whole puzzle.
For sure.
Right? And that made me realize like, wow, I get to start working with people on the emotional side. How are they managing their stress? How are they expressing themselves? On the mental side, what are their thought processes like? How are their thoughts either getting them closer to where they want to go or taking them away from that place? From a spiritual side, it's essentially, what are you connecting to that's bigger than just you at the end of the day? And as I started to incorporate those things, because now I get to decide what the person's program looks like, man, people were having these complete 360 shifts in how they were experiencing their life. And it had me realize like, oh my God, as an entrepreneur, I am in direct control in how I impact somebody or a group of people.
Wow.
Whereas where I was before, it was like, all right, I can only do these things that the company ethos wants me to do. And that was like my biggest revelation when it came to jumping into entrepreneurship.
Beautiful. And I love this holistic approach to life, because it's not just fitness, right? And I feel that when you're able to work with someone on the spiritual side, the emotional side, the physical side, you're able to create this synergy and create these results where they actually get what they are looking for.
Right.
But a lot of times they don't know what they're looking for. In marketing, there is this line that says, sell them what they want, but give them what they need.
Right.
Because a lot of the times people, they just want the six-pack abs. They just want the big biceps or the big booty because they think that that's what's going to give them the edge that they're looking for, the freedom, the peace, the joy, right? And I think it also happens with accolades in life, right? Where we're looking for that nice car, or we're looking for that relationship or that partner to complete us. Right. But that's not where you'll find the thing that you're actually looking for. And it's why I love holistic life coaches like you, and why I think that all these gyms that just offer a fitness coach is, man, there's this huge opportunity for these gyms to tune in to people like you, right, and that can actually give people what they're looking for. And get the abs too. Like, it's cool, it's like it's your birthright.
Yeah. Well, what that reminds me of what you just said, it's literally this cycle that most people have of essentially have, do, be,
right,
versus be, do, have.
Right.
Where it's like, once I have the six-pack or I have the plump booty, right, then I'm going to go out in the world and I'm going to start dating and all of these things, and then I'll be happy.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas it's really the opposite of that I'm trying to teach people, where it all starts in the being. Right?
Wow.
Like, how are you carrying yourself? How are you showing up in life? You can wait until you lose 30 pounds to be confident, or you can decide right now that I'm going to be confident and use that confidence to, maybe leave that 9-to-5 and go into entrepreneurship, right? And then I'll start to have the financial freedom, the independence, the powerful why, whatever it is. So it's all about starting with the being of it as opposed to the having. Because at the end of the day, the materialistic wants or having those things, that might bring you the ways of being, but why wait all the way till then?
It's a long route.
It's such a long route. And it's like, no, you can tap into that right now. And then from that place of being, create whatever it is that you want to create in your own world.
Okay, I love this. So for me, entrepreneurship is a game of identity a lot of the times, and not just entrepreneurship, because I feel like entrepreneurship is it's like a fractal of life, right? But for me, entrepreneurship, every level requires a new level of being, a new level of identity. It requires me to step into that a lot of the times before I feel that I'm ready. So as a life coach, as someone that helps people through this process, what can you give as actionable stuff that people can utilize as maybe tools or frameworks or ways of thinking for them to step into that new identity, whether it's to be an entrepreneur, if they're taking an entrepreneur leap, or to maybe they're going to the gym, right, trying to get abs and biceps and the physique of their dreams, so they start to feel confident. How can they start to tap into that identity now? What can they do so they don't have to go that long route that often doesn't even lead there, just leads to disappointment?
100%. Man, that's such a great question. And the first thing that comes up to me is clarity, right? There's this quote, I forget who I heard this from originally, but it's this idea that if you don't have a destination, any road will take you there. So I think it's so important for any person to get extremely clear on what is it that they truly desire. Why do they desire that thing? And get really, really, really deep with it. How will your life be different? How are you going to be showing up? Who will you be attracting? What impact will you now be making? And once you're very, very clear on that, now it's starting to build the awareness of, okay, what am I currently doing that's working and that's getting me closer to that? And also, and maybe even more importantly, what's getting in the way and what's taking me away from that thing? Because with awareness comes choice. And if a person's not aware of their ineffective habits, how they're self-sabotaging, or they're just not aware of what it is they truly desire, then they're not going to have the awareness to choose something different than maybe what they're currently doing that's stopping them, or not even have the awareness that, like, hey, there are a handful of things you're currently doing. Do those things more so that you can get to where you want to go. So it starts with the clarity. Get super, super clear, and make sure when you are searching for the clarity that it's truly coming from you, right? It's not what you think society wants from you. It's not what you think your parents want from you. It's not what your girlfriend, your boyfriend, wife, whoever wants for you. It's what you truly want for you. And starting with the I and getting so clear on that and building that up really strong so that you can now, from that space, support the we level. Your friends, your family, those closest to you. And then from there, the all level, right? Humanity in general, or your community where you live, whatever it is. But it starts with the clarity of why it's important for you first.
Levels of consciousness. I love where this is taking us. Okay, so what's the best way that someone can develop this self-awareness? Is it kind of sitting down with a journal, or is it kind of taking time and going to the mountains by yourself? Is there like a preferred methodology that you recommend if somebody's looking to, cool, I want to develop this self-awareness. I want to see what's serving me, what's not serving me. How do I tune in within so I can kind of move from that space of clarity?
Yeah, great question. I think number one, it gets to be a quiet place where you're not going to be interrupted. Now, whether that's in the Tibetan mountains or whether it's in a quiet place in your apartment, find somewhere that you can truly sit down, focus, and create that clarity. And in order to create the clarity, I'm huge into values, right? I'm very big into Paul Chek, right? Mm-hmm. Paul Chek has the 4-doctor model. And one of these doctors that he talks about is Dr. Happiness, right? And that's the inner physician that tells us what is most important for us, what makes us happy on a personal level, on a professional level, and on a relational level. So I'm a big fan with clients or just with anybody asking themselves questions around, when do I feel my best? What are the things that I like to do that give me a lot of energy? Who are the type of people that I love to be around? Also in terms of needs, like how much money do I require to live the life that I desire, right? And also, do I want a partner? Do I want to, be alone? What are the type of friends? Like all these types of questions that create a foundation around values. Because to me, the values are a person's North Star. It's the thing that they can look at in any specific situation and use as a filter of, okay, if I say yes, it's either going to get me closer to that thing, or if I say yes, it's going to take me further away from that thing. So by understanding that aspect of it, it's easy to say yes, no, and create boundaries in all different aspects of your life.
Beautiful. I love this actionable content that people can go and implement. I got to ask. So we have Dr. Happiness. We don't have to dive into the other doctors, but what are they?
Yeah. So we got Dr. Happiness, Dr. Quiet, Dr. Diet, and Dr. Movement.
Wow. I love Dr. Quiet because it's something that I'm so passionate about. I feel that we live in such a connected world, and it's so loud, that we can't hear ourselves. And we're so connected that we can't connect with ourselves, because we don't take the time to think, to be, to get this clarity. Can you talk a little bit on Dr. Quiet?
Yeah, man. Dr. Quiet is huge, right? Yeah. Dr. Quiet is the physician that is all about helping you recharge your battery. I think one of the biggest misconceptions that we have about ourselves, or at least that I make up, is that, we think we're machines. Yeah. And we try to just go, and like never stop. And that's when we get these, little sayings like, I'll sleep when I'm dead, or, grind time, like grind doesn't stop, all of these things. Yeah. And like, I get it. Like, it's very like ego driven. Like, it sounds good. It's real tough, all these things, but like, it's not sustainable.
For sure.
Right. So I'm so passionate about Dr. Quiet, and my whole philosophy is work hard, rest hard. So however hard you're working, you need to make sure you're getting enough rest so that you can recover to actually go do that work again. Because if not, you might start up here, but then you're going to be going down and down and down and down and down, and your level of proficiency, efficiency, and effectiveness all go down. And as an entrepreneur, that's like our kryptonite.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, there's so much noise out there.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're constantly checking in with the noise and not checking in with ourselves, it's so easy to not hear Dr. Quiet talking to us and being like, hey, Abraham, sleep in today. Like, get your 8 hours.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Abraham, like, go meditate for 10 minutes. I know you just went hard back to back to back to back with clients and you got another one coming up in 30. Like, go take 20 to, like, recharge your battery so that you can be just as effective and powerful for that fourth client as you were for those last 3. And it's something that I learned being in the personal training sports performance space, where, man, like, my goal at first was like, let me pack my schedule. Like, I want the 5 a.m. client, I want the 6:15, the 7:30, give me like the 9 o'clock mom. All right, I'll take a little break until like 10:30 and then like 11 o'clock, just all the way through the day. And by the time I got home, boy, I would be wrecked. And instead of just being like, all right, like, I'm going to go get my 8 hours of sleep and eat a good meal and all that, it's like, nah, like, I want to be on like the apps. I want to be swiping. I want to find girls to hang out with. I want to go like stay up and like do things that I think are effective in terms of like, planning for the next day or like planning the move for the next week, month, whatever it is. But all that happened was I got burnt out and just super tired because I wasn't doing it in a sustainable way. And when I started to flip that and understand like, okay, the harder I work, the more I need to rest, and the better I rest, the more effective I am and actually serve my clients better. And I end up getting more clients, right? And I end up getting to do more work, which again goes right back into more rest, and it's just the same cycle that goes over and over.
For sure. It's turning into this abundance mentality of I can rest and I can still like have the success that I want. I love work hard, rest hard. Yeah. I'm gonna steal that one for you too.
Bro, take it. I stole it from someone else, so it's all good.
So work hard, rest hard, and we were kind of wrapping on this a little bit before we started the podcast on the fact that as entrepreneurs, we have a lot more on our back than the average person. And if you don't realize it as an entrepreneur, because you have so much more on your back, like there's so much resistance that you're carrying every single day. Everything's new. Every conversation's new. You have to think about a lot. You have to put out fires. You need that rest. Right. Now, sharing with you, for me, a big thing coming back from my journey has been giving myself the time that my body needs to sleep. And I've always been a very masculine, heavy energy, kind of like go, wake up early, like 5 a.m. club, and that was something that was like dear to my heart. But what I found is that by allowing myself to get the sleep that I need and not waking up with an alarm, I still wake up relatively early, sometimes 30 minutes after I would have woken up with an alarm. And now I create buffers in my schedule to allow for that. But how I'm showing up in conversations with clients, how I'm showing up at work, my level of focus is so much higher. Right. And like you said, because of that, I'm able to just have more success. And I think it's kind of it's shifting from a mindset also. I don't know why we're programmed to think that success is hard and requires suffering. Right? Like that's a thing in our society. And don't get me wrong, building a company, it's hard. It's hard, but it doesn't. You don't have to suffer through it. Right. And you can find that balance. And I feel as the dialogue around entrepreneurship and what it takes to be an entrepreneur evolves, we're gonna have this message that you just share of work hard, but rest hard become more prevalent. Right. Because you hear the outliers like Elon or Bill Gates, who would fall on his keyboard while he was programming, wake up 5 hours later and continue programming, and that's just not realistic for most people, nor is it needed.
Right.
Yeah. So let's go back a little bit to your journey in entrepreneurship. You jumped out, clients come with you, you're seeing that by taking them through your process, they're getting way better results than if they were just out doing the fitness program that the gym kind of prescribed to them. So what's the next step in that entrepreneurial journey for you, and what's life like as an entrepreneur as opposed to being an employee? Are you enjoying it more? Are there hardships that come with being an entrepreneur? Like what's the true story behind that journey for you?
Yeah, no, for sure, man. Great questions. And what I've realized is there were a lot more challenges in entrepreneurship because there was no one directly telling me what to do, right? And don't get me wrong, I was never a fan of people telling me what to do. However, it made it very simple in execution because it's literally like, okay, go do this thing. All right, I go do it.
Right.
Whereas what I found myself doing early on as an entrepreneur that was super ineffective was living in the land of tomorrow, where it's like, I tell myself, like, all right, Alvey, like, you need to do A, B, and C today. And then, like, I'll do A, I'll do B, and then C would come around, I'd just be like, man, I could just do C tomorrow, right? And that tomorrow, literally, I've had examples of that turning into, like, literally a year later, right? One of them being, for me, my website. Like, not to say that having a website is super important, but it was one of those things where I just kept putting it off. And then eventually it just took like just someone just being like calling me out on it, like a close friend who I appreciate their feedback. It's like, bro, you've been talking about this for a while. Like, go get that shit done. I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. And then I got it done. But again, that was someone else kind of telling me that. And then through my own work, it started becoming like, okay, what is like the most important goal? What is it that I really get to focus on? That if I do this thing, it's going to move the majority of the rest of my work forward. And by really embodying that, it's allowed me to be a lot more organized. So that's one thing I overcame. Something that I wasn't realizing the importance of was scaling, right? And that's where our work together became so important, because a lot of my success, it almost seemed like it just popped out of thin air. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, I was doing a great job. I was serving people, and those people would refer other people to me, and then they come work with me. But then there's so many times where, you know, I would have these spells of like, all right, here's a great month, or great 2 months, and then it's like a slow month, and I have no idea of like, damn, like, why was this month slow? And I wouldn't know because I wasn't tracking. I wasn't being organized. You know, how many call to actions, how many, you know, discovery calls am I having, all these things. And once I started doing that with you, I started to realize like, oh, I can tell directly by when I do these lead measures for the lag measures, like, oh, like I get a lot more consistent results. So now I'm realizing the importance of organization within my own business. And whereas before I could be unorganized and still have quote unquote success, but now I'm realizing that in order to get to where I want to go and live the type of life that I desire to live, organization, knowing how to automatize things, how to scale certain things, that's going to allow me to have that effectiveness and that efficiency. And I'm really starting to receive the fruits of that labor these last 4 or 5 months, which has been amazing.
Beautiful. So it's interesting. I want to take this in an interesting direction. So I often feel that when we first get into entrepreneurship, and call it God, call it the universe, at first you'll get some success, and it's life like showing you like you can do this. You know, it's a life kind of after you take that leap, it's life catching you. You know what I'm saying? Like for you, to me, it sounds like that those were those first couple of clients that followed you, right, to your new gym. And then life, I believe, always wants us to grow, and it wants us to become better, and more expansive, you know. And I think that's where life starts showing you, yes, this can work, but you as an entrepreneur have to grow too, you know, and you yourself have to level up. And this is where I feel we start to see these kind of dry spells that get us to, okay, like maybe there's something that I'm missing here, right? And maybe there's an area of that I need to grow into, which is really cool when you start seeing those patterns. So a while back, I went to this conference in Vegas, and Ed Mylett was speaking, and he was talking about your business and how your business will never outgrow you, right? And that goes to show the power of, and I know you've done this many times, whether it was with me, whether it was with Paul, or other certifications where like you've been humble enough to understand, like, cool, like there's something I don't know here, right? That I need to go and seek out elsewhere. And man, there's so much power on that. I want to shift a little bit to something that I heard you share at one point, and that is it can be applied to entrepreneurship, but is in what makes a yes powerful. Do you know what I'm referring to?
No, go a little deeper.
Okay, so you share this on a different podcast, and it was that it is saying no that makes a yes powerful. Right. And as I was doing some research for this podcast, that hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, whoa, like that is what makes a yes powerful, you know, and yes to a certain situation, yes to a life partner, yes to a business venture. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, God, that's such a great point you bring up, and it's this idea that your yes doesn't become powerful until you learn how to say no. And there's so many instances I can think about in my own life, especially my early entrepreneurship career, where I was saying yes to so many things that truly weren't for me because two things. I was coming from a place of scarcity, like, man, where's this next client gonna come from so that I can pay my bills and live my life and do all the things.
Or working in the gym,
right? And then the second one was a lack of self-confidence, where it's like, man, I gotta say yes to these things because it's like, I don't know if something bigger is gonna come, or I don't know if something better is gonna come for me. And bro, Abraham, literally the day I started saying no, and like really saying no, like being super confident in no's, was when I was getting potential clients who literally only wanted to do personal training. And I know, like, within the depths of my soul how important it is to work on not just your physical fitness, like I said earlier, your emotional fitness, your mental fitness, your spiritual fitness, in order to truly live an empowered, fulfilling life. However, I was trying to like fulfill my bank account, and it's like, yo, like, all right, I need to say yes to like any client who's gonna come in and just want to pump iron in the gym or just run around or do whatever. And bro, because I was constantly exchanging my time for money, every time I would say yes to these clients who are my ideal client, it was actually taking away the space and the time to allow in the actual clients that wanted to take that 360 approach that I truly wanted to offer, right? And man, it was probably the end of 2019 when I started really saying no to people who just wanted to do personal training. And yeah, there was a time where business was a little slow because I wasn't, you know, people didn't really know.
The universe will test you.
Right, for sure.
Is your no for real?
Right. Like, oh, okay, I saw you saw this no. Like, all right, let me flood you with a bunch of opportunities here.
Right.
And even within those opportunities were like places to go be the director of like sports performance at other gyms, or directors of, personal training and stuff at other facilities. And like you said, universe coming up with big tests.
Yeah.
And bro, once we got to early 2020, and then especially when all the pandemic stuff came and people can't go to the gym no more, bro, so many people started coming out of the woodworks who I had no idea that were following me in my messages that were on Instagram, or were seeing me talk in certain spaces, and they're like, yo, like, Alvey, like, tell me about that package you're offering, because I'm struggling with my mental health.
Beautiful. Or
like, I'm feeling really empty and unfulfilled with how my current life is going, or like, I just really want some help on getting like clear direction on what's really important for me. And because I had said no to so many other people, man, I had these, handful of open spaces where I could bring in these other people. And man, I love being able to serve other people, and like, it really fills me up, and I'm so grateful for it. And I'm so happy for myself that I get to serve people in this way, because it fills me up. Like, it feels so amazing. And, a lot of my own personal journey is rooted in understanding the importance of this synergistic performance, right? This synergistic health, this holistic aspect of health. And my whole thing is, if I can do it, you can too. And that's where you can too comes from, that name. And I just look at all the things that I've been able to do in my life, or all these mentors and different people I look up to, or what they've been able to do. And I'm like, yo, like, we're all human beings. And if myself or this other person can do it, you can too. And I've been offering that opportunity for other people, and the ones who have been taking advantage of it have been seeing unbelievable shifts in their life. And I think it's available to them because they're starting to see the impact that a true holistic life or health program can do for them.
I love that. It takes discipline to say no, and it takes trust in your vision. Alvey, I think this is a good point to wrap up this podcast. Okay. You've delivered so much value to the audience. Thank you, man.
Pleasure,
where can people connect with you?
Yeah, so you can connect with me on Instagram at Mr. YouCan2. That's the number 2. You can catch the inspiration, the lifestyle, the speed walking videos.
Tune in.
Definitely check out the speed walking videos. And yeah, man, that's the best place that you can find me.
What would you say to someone that's on this journey of entrepreneurship, whether they're at the stage where they have to take that leap, or they're feeling called to, or maybe they've already took that leap and they're experiencing that dry spell where they can't find clients? What would you say to someone that's on this journey?
Yeah, if you're on the journey and you're feeling stuck, 1, check in. Are you putting in the work required in order to get you to where you want to go? And then 2, from there, like, get help. Like, you don't have to do it by yourself. And I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions in entrepreneurship, is this idea of being like a self-made man or woman. And at the end of the day, like, no one does it all by themselves. It's impossible. Yeah. So if you are struggling, like, get yourself a mentor, get yourself a coach, like, invest in a program, find somebody who's doing what you're desiring to do that's at a higher level than you, and like, seek them out and see how you can learn from them, the books, the podcast, all the things. And at the end of the day, it comes down to execution. Put in the work.
Yeah, it's such a powerful lesson, and you're speaking to me and where I'm at this year. A huge lesson that's been coming up again and again is that it's okay to need help, and it's okay to ask for help, when you need it. And I think as entrepreneurs, a lot of times we feel that we need to hold it together, and I don't know why sometimes we feel that it's not okay to not be okay, or to not know what you're doing. But having that humbleness to go out and say, look, like, I need help, whether it's on entrepreneurship or in life, like, wherever you need help. Like, if you ask for that help and you're humble enough to accept where you're at, you'll get that. You'll get what you need. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in.
I appreciate you, Abraham. And one more thing, you can also find me on my podcast, How You Can Too, and Abraham's going to be on there real soon. Yes. So I'm excited for
guys,
that.
You can too. Let's get it. Thank you, man.
My brother, thank you.
That's a good podcast.